Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you about switch case statement, which is very important and commonly used in programming. I will share some tips, tricks, and common errors that happen, and together we are going to build an application. So let me show you the application that we are going to build. As you can see, the app asks you to select a language. We have 9 languages, and then depending on which language you select, the application is going to respond and greet you in that language. So if I say 1, the application says hello and welcome. And then let's start the application again. If I select, for example, Hindi, and I press enter, as you can see here, we get namaste. Okay. And then if you select something else which is not a valid choice, for example 99, as you can see, you get invalid choice. So this is the application that we are going to build today together, and you are going to learn how to use switch case statement. Also, if you want to learn the skills and knowledge necessary to become a successful software developer, or if you are tired because you cannot find a job, or you are stuck in your current job but you really want a big career in tech, then I can guarantee you that my practical programming course can teach you coding. It can help you to start a successful career as a software developer, and it can help you to discover your passion for coding. I understand that learning to code can be very hard and overwhelming. That's why I designed this course to be engaging and interactive so that the process is fun and enjoyable. I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to learn programming and take control of their future in their own hands. And that's why I'm creating these free programming videos on YouTube. And I also have paid programming course where I can dedicate a lot more time, and you can learn programming directly from me, ask questions, get help, and I can take you from zero to hero and help you to reach your full potential. So if you want to make positive impact on your life and become part of tech community which is making a difference in our world, then you can sign up and start today. We have 7-day money-back guarantee, so you really have nothing to lose. And the fastest people who enroll will get a special discount, and you can find more details in the description of this video. So with that being said, let's continue and build our application. The first thing that our application should do is it should ask the user to select the language. So I will say console.writeLine, and here I will say, please select the language. Okay. And then below we are going to write all of the languages that he can select. So console.writeLine. If he presses 1, that is English. Okay, and then the second language was Hindi. Okay, and then let's say third language is Urdu. Okay, and then I will add the remaining languages and then I will be back. So we have French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Turkish, and Balkan, any of the Balkan languages. And now what we should do is we should give our user the option to enter his choice. So one of these 9 numbers or any number, and then based on his choice, we are going to greet him in one of these languages, or if he selects some option that is not valid, then we are going to tell him you entered invalid choice. So now I would like to invite you to try and implement this program with the help of if-else conditions, which we have learned in the previous video. That is going to be linked here and also in the description in case that you did not watch it. So make sure to watch it and then try to implement this program with the help of if-else conditions. And then I'm going to show you a better way to implement that same thing with the help of switch case. The reason for that is because here we have a lot of different choices that the user can make. And if you write a lot of if-else conditions, even if your program works, the code will be hard to read, hard to understand and maintain. So a better choice is to implement this and to solve this problem with the help of switch case. So now I'm going to show you how you can do that. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to read the choice that our user has entered, and we will store that number inside an integer variable. So let's create that variable. Let's say int choice. Okay. So what I want to do is whatever our user enters, I want to parse that into integer so that it can be stored inside this integer variable. So I will say int dot parse console readline. So I will read from the console what our user has entered, and then I will parse that into an integer and store it inside this variable here. And also, please don't forget this semicolon at the end. So now that we have user's choice stored inside this variable, what we want to do is we want to check which one of these numbers is inside this variable, and then depending on that number, we are going to write him a message in that specific language. So the first thing that I will do is I will create a string variable. I will call it message. Okay, and initially I will not assign any value to this variable, but what I will do is I will check what number is inside this choice variable, and then depending on that number, I will store a message in one of these 9 languages. And in order to check which value is inside this variable, we are going to use switch case statement. So switch case statement is used when you want to check what is the value of a certain variable, but there are many different values that variable can hold. For example, in our case, we have 9 valid options, 9 valid cases. And then our user can also enter an invalid number, for example, 15. So we should also be able to handle that situation as well. And then in each one of these cases, we want our program to behave differently. We want to get a different message. So for that, we use switch case. So let's see how would you do that. So you write switch, and then inside these parentheses, you are going to put the variable whose value you want to check. And that is our choice variable. And then inside these curly brackets, we will put all individual cases. So in case that the user has entered number 1, which means that this variable holds number 1, then we will write a message in English. In case that the user has entered number 2, so if this variable here holds number 2, then we will write a message in Hindi. And then in case of 3, we will write a message in Urdu, and so on. So here I will describe each individual case. So case 1, and then you put these 2 dots, you put column sign. So in this case, message will be a message in English. So I will say, hello, welcome. Okay. And then one very important thing is that at the end of each case, you need to put break statement. So at the end of each case, after you have finished describing what your program should do in that case, you need to put break statement. Otherwise, you are going to have errors. Okay, so that is our case 1. Now I'm going to copy this code and paste it. And now I want to describe what is going to happen in case that the user has selected number 2. And in case of number 2, we need a message in Hindi. So in Hindi, I believe it is said Namaste. Okay, I have a friend from India who always says Namaste and then does this. What does that mean? I find it so cute, but I cannot do it right now. So case number 3 is Urdu. We say Assalamu alaikum. So case 3 and then message will be Assalamu alaikum. Okay, and then at the end of each case, we need break. Okay, so now I'm going to add these remaining 6 languages and I will be back. So I've added case 4 and that is French. So in French, we say bonjour or salut, bienvenue. And then don't forget break at the end. It's very important. And then case 5, that is German. So auf Deutsch sagt man, guten Tag, willkommen. Ich hoffe, dass dir das Video gefällt. And then again, don't forget break at the end. And then case 6, that is Spanish. So we say, hola, bienvenido, espero que te guste el video. And then case 7 is Portuguese. So we say, hola, bom dia. And then case 8, that is Turkish. So we say, merhaba, hoş geldin. And then case 9, I've put here Balkan because that is actually my language. It's a group of 10 languages which are very similar. So in Balkan, we say Zdravo, dobrodošli. Okay, so here we have these 9 cases, and depending on which choice, which one of these 9 numbers the user enters, he is going to get one of these 9 messages. So now that we have stored one of these 9 messages into this variable, what we can do is we can simply write this message into our console. But one thing that we need to do before that is we need to cover default case, which means what is going to happen in case that the user does not enter any one of these valid choices. For example, he enters number 10 or 100. So that case is called default, and I will put it here. Like this. So you say default. So what is going to happen in default case? Well, I will store inside my message invalid choice. Like this. And at the end, I will put break again. So now that we have covered all of these valid cases and then also default case, which means if the user enters some number that is not valid, now I can say console.writeLine message. So now if I run my program, let's see what we are going to get. So it says, please select the language. And if I say 5 and press enter, we get Guten Tag, willkommen. And then if I start the application again and I say, for example, 2, it says namaste. Okay, and then our default case is going to happen if I enter some choice that is not valid, for example, 57, and I press enter. As you can see, we get invalid choice. Okay, so the main takeaway from this video is that we use switch case statement when we want to execute different block of code depending on a value of a certain variable. In our case, we want to check what is value inside choice variable, and then in case it is 1, we want to execute this code. In case it is 2, we want to execute this code, and so on. And then at the end of each case, please don't forget to put break. That is very important. Okay, and then here we have default case, which means if neither one of these is the value for this variable, then we are going to execute default case. Okay, and for each case, you can have just one line of code or you can have an entire block of code, depending on what you want your program to do. In all of our cases, we have just one line of code. But again, if you wanted, you could put an entire block of code. And then very, very important not to forget is that at the end of each case, you need to put break statement. An interesting question is, do you need to have this default case? So does every switch case statement need to have default as well? And the answer is no, you don't. So this here is not obligatory. I can delete it, but in our program, we are going to get an error here. And the reason why we are getting this error is because we are trying to write this message, and that is going to work without any problems in case that user enters one of these 9 numbers. But if he enters any other number, which is not valid case, then we are going to have an error because we have not assigned any value to that variable. So here our program says that this variable needs to have some value in case that the user does not enter one of these 9 numbers. And so far we have covered that with our default situation. But now that we don't have it, what we can do is we can assign initial value here. So initially I can say invalid choice. So that is going to be initial value of this variable. And then in case that the user enters one of these numbers, we will simply change that for one of these messages. And then in case that he enters something that is not valid, then we will have this initial message. So we will not have the error anymore. And now if I start my program, again, as you can see, our program works without any problem. So 1, it says, hello, welcome. And then if I enter something that is not valid, for example, 55, as you can see, we get this invalid choice, which is the initial string that we have stored inside this variable. So you can use this approach here, or you can have default case at the end, whichever you prefer. Most beginners find this one easier to understand, so I will leave this one. And even if you leave both, your program is still going to work, but it is redundant to have both, so I will simply remove this initial message here. Okay. So now that you have learned what is switch case and how to use it, I want to give you a task that you can do on your own in order to practice, and then you can watch my solution. So your task is the following. I want you to ask the user to enter a number for a month, so 1 for January, 2 for February, 3 for March, and so on. And then depending on the number that he has entered, you are going to write him a message how many days that month has. So please pause the video here and then try to implement this, try to solve this problem on your own, and then you can watch my solution. So here is my solution, and I wanted to show you this example because I wanted to teach you an important and interesting trick, and that is how you can group multiple cases together. So here I have grouped these 7 cases that have the same behavior. So I have grouped them like this so that I don't have to repeat my code. And then I have also grouped these 4 cases together because they also have the same behavior. And I will explain this in a minute, but first let's explain from the beginning what this program does. So first we ask the user to enter a month, so enter a number between 1 and 12, and then we read what the user has typed and we parse that into an integer. So we convert it into an integer and we store it inside this month variable. And then we switch on that variable, which means we check what is the value of that variable. So in case that it is 1, or in case that it is 3 or 5, 7, 8, 10, or 12, those are these months here. And in any one of these cases, we will print the same message. So we will write that month has 31 days. And then at the end, we need to put break. Now, another way that you could do this is you could repeat this code for all of these individual cases. So you can say case 1 and then this code here, and then case 3 and then the same code, and then case 5, the same code again, and so on. But you can also do it this way in order to make your code shorter and understandable and in order to avoid repeating your code. So for any one of these cases, we will write this message here, and then at the end, very important to put break. And then we have these 4 cases which also have the same behavior. So in case that month is April or June or September or November, so in case 4, 6, 9, or 11 is what user has typed, we are going to write this message. That month has 30 days. And then again, it's very important that you put break. And then since February is very specific, we have just 1 month inside this group. So in case of 2, we will say that month has 28 or 29 days on leap year. And then again, you need to put break at the end. And then we also have this default case which says invalid month. So in case that the user enters any other number which is not between 1 and 12, we will write this message here. Okay. So now if I start the program and I enter, for example, 10, that is October, we get this message here. That month has 31 days. And then if I start the program again and I enter, for example, 9, that is September, we should get this message here. So that month has 30 days. And then for February, if we enter 2, we get this message here. And then let me stop this program. In case that I enter anything else which is not valid, for example, 99, we get invalid month message. Okay, so this is how you use switch case. And as I said in the beginning, all of the problems that you can solve with switch case, you can also solve with multiple if-else conditions. But sometimes if you write a lot of if-else conditions, that can make your code look bulky and hard to understand, hard to maintain. So if you need to write a lot of if-else conditions, you should definitely consider using switch case instead. But there are some important differences between if-else statement and switch case statement. And that is the following. Inside if-else, you can write different conditions and different expressions. For example, you can say, if A is greater than B, then do something. Or if month is less than 5, then do this. But in switch case, you cannot do that. So here, inside each one of these cases, you need to put exact value that this variable here can have. And you cannot write expressions like you can in if-else statement. So that means that if-else statement is more powerful, it gives you more options, but sometimes it is better to use switch case if you can, of course, because that will make your code easier to understand and easier to read. For example, if you need to write multiple if-else statements, then it is better to use switch case. But that is possible only if you are checking the value of this variable against specific, exact values that it can have and not some expressions. But if you just want to check one or two different values, then it is completely okay and it is better and faster to write if-else statement. So if you don't understand if-else, then you can watch the video that will be linked here, and I will also put it in the description, and then you can better understand what is if-else and also the difference between switch case statement and if-else statement. So I hope that this video was helpful and that now you understand how to use switch case statement. If you enjoyed it and if you want more videos like this, give it a thumbs up. And also, if you have any questions, you can leave those in the comment section. And if you want to learn how to build real-world applications and you want me to help you to start a successful career as a software developer and take you from zero to hero, then I invite you to join my practical programming course. It is beginner-friendly and I have prepared an entire plan for you. Everything is on one place, all of the lessons, all of the tasks that you need to do, and you just need to follow that plan and it will help you to achieve your goals. We have a 7-day money-back guarantee, which means that if you don't like the course for any reason, you can get a full refund. So you have nothing to lose. That is how sure I am in the quality of this course, because I have really put a lot of time to prepare all of the materials that you need, all of the things that you need to learn and understand in order to start a successful career as a software developer. And I also have a special discount for my YouTube viewers. So the fastest people who enroll using the link in the description will be able to save some nice money. So click the link and I will see you in a minute in our programmer community. Thank you very much for watching this video and I will see you in another one. Bye!